The movie Transcendence seems to be one of the latest in a very large wave of transhuman propaganda. Now, transhumanism, it's a somewhat of a broad term which covers everything from human enhancements, up and downloading information, either downloading contents of one's brain into a computer or uploading the contents of a computer into our brains. Also deals with human-robot interactions, etc. So, this movie seems to be about becoming super intelligent and therefore becoming post-human, transhuman, more human than human. And what happens when you do that to yourself and you can no longer function as a human being? You know, you become the Ubermensch, the Superman, beyond good and evil, the Nietzschean concepts. Of course, previous to this, we even just recently have had two new TV shows, Intelligence and Almost Human, both playing on this theme of transhumanism. Certainly played a part in the Matrix with the uploading of information and living in a virtual world. Also played a part in L. Ron Hubbard's Battlefield Earth with a device whereby you could upload tremendous amounts of information for instant knowledge. And certainly played a huge role in Star Trek with the Borg. And of course, Gene Roddenberry had some interesting interactions into the realm of paranormal research. And this also calls to mind the movie The Lawnmower Man, wherein a man who, how shall we say, he was differently advantaged. He had some sort of mental disability. Is hooked up to a computer and made super intelligent. And again, to the point where he loses contact with reality because he is living in his own reality. In his own world, he becomes a god. And something odd about that movie, during moments of the movie where he's experiencing these huge uploads of information and breaking into the virtual world, all sorts of sigils are displayed. Magical sigils. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? All kinds of magical sigils. And in fact, there's a scene that depicts the crucifixion right there in virtual reality. What does that have to do with anything pertaining to the mere interaction of humans and up and downloading information? Well, if we go further back still to, I believe it was 1920, we encounter a black and white movie called Metropolis, a silent film. Well, in Metropolis, there's a scientist who builds a robot into which he can download the contents of a person's brain. And then he makes the robot look like a human being. So basically it's a replacement. It's almost like a clone, a robotic clone. But what's interesting is that one point in the movie, this robot is sitting upon a chair, you know, some kind of a throne really. And behind it is what? But a very large upside down pentagram. Now, first of all, you have the downloading of a human mind into a robot in 1920. And what on earth does a satanic pentagram have to do with it? Or think back to Frankenstein. The story about various body parts being combined into a dead mass of previously existing beings and brought to life scientifically through the use of electricity, etc. Basically brings the being to life that basically has to be trained from the ground up. I mean, it's like a newborn baby. It knows nothing. It has to be trained or programmed by its creator. Keeping in mind, of course, that Frankenstein is the name of the doctor. Morning.
Have a good one.
You too, thanks.
They do, they use it.
Well, it seems to me that if we go even further back, okay, we are going back into the realm of Jewish mysticism, into the Kabbalah. And now I'm going to take a time to explain something, which is that religions have a way of embellishing, right? So various groups come along and say, right, we have the written text, yes, that's fine. But we also have, okay, so we have the Holy Book plus our own little spin on things, and that makes it special, okay? So, for instance, the Roman Catholics did this by saying, yes, we have the written Bible, but we also have the oral teachings of the apostles, and of course we also have the sayings of the various saints, the sayings of the various apparitions, the sayings of the various popes. Islam did this as well. Yes, we have the written Quran, yes, but we also have the Hadith, and these are hundreds and hundreds of collections of the doings and the sayings of Muhammad. And likewise, Rabbinic Judaism did this as well. They said, yes, we have the written Torah, or the Tanakh, okay? That's their word for what many call the Old Testament. Tanakh is an acrostic for Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketubim. So the law, the prophets, and the writings. And yes, we have the written Torah, the written Tanakh. But, or so the claim goes, when Moses was upon Sinai, God did reveal to him laws which he was meant to write down, and that's the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. But, you see, God also revealed to Moses laws which he was not supposed to write down, but he was only supposed to pass on orally. And that's the Rabbinic Judaism's oral tradition, that's the Mishnah. So down through time, commentary was made upon the Mishnah, and that's the Gemara. So finally, around 500-600 AD, the Mishnah and the Gemara were compiled and written down, and that's what's known as the Talmud. And there's actually 2 Talmuds. There's the Jerusalem Talmud, or the Talmud Yerushalmi, and then there's the Babylonian Talmud, or the Talmud Bavli. The Babylonian Talmud definitely being the most voluminous and the more authoritative one. So now, even later on, the Kabbalists came along and claimed that, well, yes, when Moses was on Sinai, not only did he receive laws he was to write down, and laws which he was not supposed to write down, but passed down orally, he also received mystical teachings, which he was supposed to pass down orally, and which eventually came to be written down in various Kabbalistic texts, such as the Zohar. Now, Kabbalah, it's been called everything from mysticism to Jewish magic to logic to everything in between. And actually, it forms the backbone of just about every secret society and magical group you could think of, from Aleister Crowley's Thelema, or Crowleyanity, to speculative Freemasonry, and all in between.
drugs.